We've been covering the global rise of the far right on this show for some time. There is, of course, Vladimir Putin and his ties to far-right groups in Russia and beyond. But we've also discussed people like Hungary's Viktor Orban and Marine Le Pen getting more than 40% of the vote in the French election over the weekend. They're all kind of familiar and somewhat connected even. But if you think these leaders are bad, you need to meet India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He and his far-right Hindu nationalist party, the BJP, are bent on creating a lost Hindu kingdom. They call it the Hindu Rashtra. They've been in office since 2014, openly championing Hindu nationalist supremacist ideology. Scholars are now literally warning about genocide there. Minorities, from Christians to Muslims and beyond, are facing the greatest threats to their existence since India became independent in 1947. In fact, speaking of independence, remember Mahatma Gandhi? In 1948, he was assassinated by a Hindu extremist, a man named Nathuram Godse. Godse was a former member of the far-right Hindu nationalist paramilitary volunteer group known as the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, or RSS. Imagine if the world's white supremacists had one organized paramilitary group where they could all train together and get politically organized. Yeah, exactly. Founded in 1925, they were really into the politics of Mussolini and Hitler, the RSS. A senior founding member wrote about how he was inspired by Nazi Germany, which displayed, quote, race pride at its highest and was a good lesson for use in India. The extremist ideology binding the RSS is a kind of Hindu supremacy and nationalism known as Hindutva, which, to be clear, should not be confused with the religion of Hinduism. Hinduism good, Hindutva not so good. In fact, Hindutva ideology has been really influential among some of the worst people, and not just in India. If you remember the Muslim-hating far-right Norwegian mass murderer Anders Breivik, the man who massacred 77 people in Norway in 2011, he cited Hindutva in his 1,500-page manifesto, pledging support for the deportation of all Muslims from India. He says that far-right Islamophobic movements in Europe and India should, quote, learn from each other, because, quote, our goals are more or less identical. He even put a link to the RSS website in the online resources section of his manifesto. You get the idea, right? This is a group and an ideology that is really scary. But what's even more frightening is how politically successful they've been. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is a man in charge of leading a country of 1.4 billion people, almost 4.5 times the US population. He's been re-elected as Prime Minister, and yet he was a long-time organizer in the RSS. And is now head of the RSS's political party affiliate, the BJP. It shouldn't come as a surprise that Modi and his party, the BJP, were in charge of the state of Gujarat during the horrific 2002 riots there.
For a second day, Hindu mobs attacked Muslims in towns across the western state of Gujarat. Despite shoot-to-kill orders issued to police in one village, Hindus set fire to Muslim homes, killing 30 people.
Witnesses say the police stood by and watched as crowds burned Muslim-owned stores, hotels, and restaurants. In one village, 27 Muslims died when angry mobs set their homes on fire. In another village, 7 Muslims were burned to death in a bakery.
It's estimated that between 1,000 to 2,000 people were killed in Gujarat, the vast majority of them Muslims. Many Muslim women were even raped. Western researchers have called it a one-sided systemic pogrom backed by the BJP. Human rights groups, both Indian and international, also say Modi and his local government were complicit. Some even say the riots might have been premeditated. Even the US government seemed to recognize Modi's culpability at the time, banning him from coming to the United States. Until, of course, he became Prime Minister in 2014. And then, well, we were pretty much buddies again. Barack Obama even wrote Modi's 2015 Time 100 article calling him a reformer-in-chief. If Obama mainstreamed Modi and everything he represented, Trump took him to the altar and tied the knot, marrying the far-right politics of the world's 2 biggest democracies. Here in Houston, Texas, thousands attended the 2019 Howdy Modi rally, aka the Trump-Modi Love Fest.
I present to you my friend, a friend of India, a great American president, Mr. Donald Trump.
Prime Minister Modi is doing a truly exceptional job for India and for all of the Indian people.
For all of the Indian people? For all of them? Since Modi came into office, hate crimes against minorities have skyrocketed, from Dalits to Christians and most of all towards Muslims. Lynchings. Yeah, lynchings of Muslims rumoured to have eaten or even transported cows, a holy animal for Hindus. Muslims being hacked to death while their attackers chant anti-Muslim slogans. Extremist priests calling for the rape of Muslim women. As the BBC put it last year, unprovoked attacks on Muslims by Hindu mobs have become routine.